Purpose of this special meeting is to interview applicants for a couple of commissions. And so we will get started with that process. First, let me see who's here. Vicki Lynn Alvey's here, yes?
Man, I'm in a meeting right now. I'll have to call you back.
She is not able to make it tonight. She
Okay.
did send me a letter.
All right, how about Deborah Lawrence?
Here, present.
Yep, Deborah Lawrence here. Okay. And then Greg Mitchie.
I'm here. I'm trying to launch the meeting in Zoom, but I'm not having much success, so I'm just on the phone.
Okay, so you're on the phone. You were not able to get on the Zoom hookup?
I'm working on it right now. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so there are 3 applicants for 2 seats to be filled. The process that we have used in the past, instead of having a significant number of new questions to applicants, is to allow the applicants to have a minute or 2 or 3 to introduce themselves to the council and explain why they think they would be a good choice for the commission that they're applying for. And then after that, the council has had an opportunity to review the materials that each applicant has provided. After that, if the council has any questions, we will acknowledge individual council members for questions to an individual applicant. In the past, we have asked the applicants to leave the room until it was their turn to make a presentation. I don't know how we're going to really easily do that in Zoom because we don't really have extra rooms set up in Zoom, do we?
I can put them in the waiting room.
Could you? Okay, so what we'll do in this case, we have a statement, I guess, from Vicki Lynn Alvey, and then we will have an opportunity for Deborah Lawrence to make a statement, and then a statement from Greg Mitchie. We'll start with the statement provided by Vicki Lynn Alvey, and so we'll put Deborah Lawrence and Greg Mitchie into the waiting room, and then we'll bring you back here shortly. Does everybody understand the process?
Yes.
Any questions from council about the process? Any questions from the applicants?
No.
So I can't really ask them if they have questions. They are in the waiting room. All right.
Who is this on the phone?
I don't know.
That is Mr.
Oh, it's Mitchie.
Okay, Greg Mitchie. So can you put him in the waiting room or not?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. All right. Okay, so we have a statement from Vicki Lynn Alvey. So if you want to read the statement, or I haven't seen it, so.
Yeah, I can read it for you if you'd like.
Oh, it could be.
Mayor, council. My family moved to Litchfield Park when I was 2 years old. At that time, Litchfield Park was a village. It was an unspoiled oasis which has grown into a beautiful city that has maintained its charm and sense of community envisioned by Paul Litchfield. Balancing progress, a sense of community, and economic stability is a challenge. But Litchfield Park has been able to attain that equilibrium. Calculated planning on behalf of the city has led to positive development, enhancing neighborhoods and residents' lives. As a resident of Litchfield Park for a total of 40 years of my life, I can attest to this. Much of Litchfield Park's heritage has had an influence on the person that I am today. My connection to the city and observations of responsible growth over the years has given me insight in maintaining a small town feel while expanding through thoughtful evaluation and constant consideration of the city's vision. In addition to my rooted link to Litchfield Park, I have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the past 3 years. Having the opportunity to clarify, create, and modify regulations has made me even more aware of the importance in having clear standards so the general plan can serve as a guide for the city's vision. My experience on planning and zoning has given me a solid understanding of city codes and processes, which will continue to benefit the Commission. Over the past few years, the Planning and Zoning Commission has revised the zoning matrix, clarified land use codes, modified accessory use structure designations, developed regulations for new state laws, created land use designations for Litchfield Square, and addressed various other zoning concerns. Although all aspects of zoning are integral in sustaining the city's vision, working on the Litchfield Square project has been foundational, and it has personally been an exciting responsibility. Litchfield Square and La Loma are the two largest areas the city currently has in development. As these projects progress, I am sure that there will be additional opportunities to assure that these projects promote community goals, of which I hope to be a part. I have also held an Arizona real estate license for 32 years. So I've assisted people in buying, selling, renting, and investing in properties, as well as personally investing in real estate. In the past 2 COVID years, I spent a great deal of time working on property flips. Renovating, restoring, and updating properties has led me to further evaluate development as it relates to community. Community is about more than just bike paths and parks. It provides people with a sense of belonging, which is a key element in Litchfield Park's culture. Arizona is one of the states that allows real estate agents to write legal contracts, which is another reason I enjoy this field. Years ago, I was a certified paralegal and worked in corporate law at an oil and gas company in Los Angeles. Although I changed careers, I continue to use the legal training and knowledge that I gained from that experience every day. Most of my time is occupied with real estate ventures. However, 2 years ago, I completed a master's degree in nursing leadership with an emphasis on healthcare systems. I research and review medical cases as an independent hire. To me, Litchfield Park is more than just the city in which I live. It is an ever-changing, developing entity that needs to continue to balance economic stability with the vision of an optimal community critically evaluated with continued progress. I believe that I have helped in attaining that ongoing goal over the past 3 years. I would love to continue to do so. Thank you, Vicki Lynn Albee.
Okay. Thank you. Obviously, no questions for Vicki Lynn. So we'll go to the next person in order, which would be Deborah Lawrence. You want to admit her back in? Okay, Deborah, you're back from the waiting room. We've heard a prepared presentation or a letter from Vicki Lynn Albee. Now it's your opportunity to address the council for a couple minutes, for as much time as you'd like, up to a couple minutes. And
Great,
after you're finished, if there are questions, then the council will, I'll recognize them individually if they have questions for you. Once all that's completed, you don't need to leave because you've already had your say, and so you'll be able to, you don't need to go back to the waiting room. So you'll stay in the Zoom meeting. So the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I just want to thank the mayor, the city council, the staff. You're just really all amazing. I know how hard you work and how long you've been working on these projects. So it's grateful. I'm just really grateful to see the progress that's been happening. I'm a small business owner in Litchfield Park, so I appreciate the business atmosphere as well as the culture and the quality of life here. We have 4 generations here, from my 9-year-old grandson to our 96-year-old uncle who lives with us. So it's weekends, you can usually find me at his basketball games, not the uncles, the grandsons. We have, down at the arts fair, love to do that on the weekends. And this coming weekend, I'll be hosting one of the homes on the home tour. I just appreciate the opportunity to serve, as I said. I'm dedicated to seeing Litchfield Square move forward. I have a background of 20 plus years in commercial real estate, 15 years working with nonprofits. I understand the public process and how important that is to balance the needs of the city, the budget, and the interests of the residents, and to be as transparent as possible in the process. That said, feel I brought value to my time on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I've come to the meetings prepared. I review the documents, as Mr. Sanks will attest to. I want them to be as complete and accurate before they go out to the public. I'm putting our best foot forward. I look forward to seeing each stage of this meeting in the upcoming months and years. And I think it's been well thought out. And I think this is for Litchfield Park to move forward and to get it right. And I want to be part of that process. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions from any council member? I do not see any. So now we'll admit back in from the waiting room, Greg Mitchie. Is he in? Okay. Greg, are you back?
Yes.
Okay. So we've had a presentation by both Vicki Lynn and Deborah Lawrence. It is now your turn. Following your presentation, if there are any questions from council, I will recognize them. They'll ask those questions. So please go ahead. The floor is yours.
First of all, Mr. Romack, are you there?
Yeah, I sure am.
Thank you. You built my house. I appreciate that.
All right, thank
So
you.
does he.
Appreciate that.
Well, the City Council of Litchfield Park, you guys have a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's not hyperbole. You get to build a city within a city, or I'm sorry, make the final decisions on building a city within a city. This isn't Goodyear throwing up that 3-story U-Haul storage facility. You're building roads, infrastructure, companies, restaurants. My family's been here 8 years, and we plan on being here many more. And I want to play a role. I want to have a voice in how that's shaped. The three of the newest restaurants in here have been a Denny's, a Wendy's, and a Freddy's. And I want to make sure, I want to have a voice that doesn't happen here in Litchfield Park proper moving forward. Questions?
Okay. Yeah, thank you for your statement. Any questions from council? Okay, I don't see any. Thank all the applicants for their applications. At this point, we will go on to item B, which is the appointment and oath of office for commission members. Is there any discussion amongst council on any of the applicants before you fill out your ballots?
Want to do recreation and public grounds also?
Well, I was going to actually skip that since we only have 2 people running for 2 spots.
You don't want us to vote for them?
Well, we're going to vote for him. Yeah. I don't know. Do we have either Brian Colbreth or Brian Faith here?
Yeah, Brian.
Yes, I am here. This is Brian Faith.
Okay. Would
Mr.
you like to
Mayor,
make it?
I'm sorry, Brian.
I know you're
is,
not Brian Colbreth.
I'm not Brian.
Yes,
Culver,
Sonny.
but
No.
he is out of the country, but he very much would like to serve again.
Okay. Thank you. Brian Faith, do you have anything you'd like to say to the council prior to the time that we vote on the appointments?
Sure, I'll keep it short for you guys. I was appointed to a 1-year term to fill in for somebody that had left, and I think over the last year I've gotten pretty familiar with how things work and how the commission functions currently, and I'm looking forward to taking more of an active role to, implement things that could make the community better and more beautiful and community oriented. So look forward to another term. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone on the council have a question of Brian Faith? Okay. So now we will go to filling out our ballots for the applicants for both Planning and Zoning Commission, in which there are 3 applicants for 2 places, and the Recreation and Public Grounds Commission, in which there are 2 applications for 2 spots. The ballots will then go to the city clerk, who will tabulate them. Did you receive the votes for Councilman Romack?
We did, and Donahue and Claire. Not received a ballot from Rose Dozie or Brainerd Watson.
Okay. So we have 5 ballots. All right. The other results, Ms. City Clerk?
I do.
You want to announce them, please?
For the Planning and Zoning Commission, Councilmember Donahue, Vice Mayor Faith, Councilmember Romack, and Mayor Schoaf. Vicki Lynn Alvey received 4 votes. Deborah Lawrence received 5 votes from Councilmember Clare, Councilmember Donahue, Vice Mayor Faith, Councilmember Romack, and Mayor Schoaf. Greg Mitchie received 1 vote from Councilmember Clare. For Recreation and Public Grounds, Brian Culberth received a vote from Councilmember Clare, Councilmember Donahue, Vice Mayor Faith, Councilmember Romack, and Mayor Schoaf, for a total of 5 votes. Brian Faith received a vote from Councilmember Clare, Councilmember Donahue, Vice Mayor Faith, Councilmember Romack, and Mayor Schoaf, for a total of 5 votes. So, Vicki Lynn Alvey, Deborah Lawrence, for Planning and Zoning, Brian Culberth, and Brian Faith for Recreation and Public Grounds.
Okay, thank you. Greg, I appreciate you, the council appreciates your application for planning and zoning, Greg. We hope that you will stay interested in the city and apply for other commission openings as they occur in the future. We always have a need for people who are willing to volunteer and work on behalf of the city. So thank you very much for applying, and better luck next time, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you. We will. Deborah Lawrence is here, and Brian Faith is here. Do we want to go ahead and do the swearing in now, or do you want to swear them in later?
We will swear them in later.
Perfect. I like that. Not what it says on my cheat sheet, but I'm happy with that idea. So you guys will be sworn in later. Next item,
Later today or later date?
you know what I know.
At their first
Later-
meeting.
Later date,
Later date, okay, so they can,
prior to their next meeting.
gotcha.
All right. General plan update. Do we have Jason Sanks here?
Good evening, Mayor.
Oh, there he
Council. How's it going?
Good evening.
Mayor, I believe you told me to present for a very long time tonight on this, so I made sure to expand my speech. I'm kidding. Thank you for allowing me.
Jason, I just want to give you a fair warning that I do have a mute button personally for you right here.
Oh, I knew the mouse
We
was
made-
ready. I knew you were gonna get me.
We made-
No, I actually shortened my
later.
very brief
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Well,
The other thing that you should understand, Jason, is that for every minute over 10 minutes, the contract that we're going to look at later this evening will go down by 10%.
you know what's
So,
interesting is I can talk.
time-wise.
I will keep it to 9 minutes and 59 seconds, I promise. Thank you for acknowledging that, though. Well, Council, I know you've already seen the general plan rewrite document. I wanted to just really take the opportunity for our second work session to just present to you what's changed since the last time you saw it. So back on March 2nd, you gave pretty straightforward direction in regards to how to address the map updates. I just want to let you know straight away that EPS Group is still working on the refresh of the land use map. So in addition to the updates that we'd already asked them to do before that work session, they're adding in the graphical updates that you requested on the 2nd. So I don't have that for you tonight, but it will obviously be in front of you before the 30th. So let me just do a quick screen share, and this will be more effective if I just do it really fast. So I promise I will be expeditious. Let's do this. Here we go. If you don't mind, I'm just going to go through this being our second study session update. We've had 3 study sessions with P&Z. And so let me pull up how I can manage this PowerPoint from here. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. Let's see if this thing works. Here we go. So here we are on the 16th. So you can kind of see the litany of history behind us and what's in front of us. Really what's material in the next couple of weeks before the council has a special public hearing on the 30th for action on the resolution to adopt the 2022 general plan. The dates after that are related to how we get it on the election or on the ballot for the election. So since the last time we met on the 2nd, we were able to publish the notice of public hearing for P&Z as required by statute. We held a 3rd P&Z study session where we got additional feedback I've also met with, or Daniel and I have also met with Historical Society to get feedback from them on the community background, and they've also given us some fresh imagery. So that will be, I'm formatting that imagery now to put in the document before you get it on the 30th. And I went to RPG as well to get their feedback on the open space element, as well as the action matrix that's in the back of the document. So we've had a lot of really good feedback from P&Z Historical Society and RPG since we last saw you, in addition to the feedback we actually got from the council on the 2nd. So all of that stuff's being reconciled now, and we're still getting some feedback coming in, perhaps from additional members of RPG. And then ultimately we'll have it in front of P&Z for action on recommendation to you next week on the 22nd. So between maps coming on Friday and then P&Z on the 22nd, we should be all set to go to bring it to you for action for special meeting or special hearing on the 30th. So that was my promise to be quick. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the council has on where we're at.
Good job. Council, do you have questions for Mr. Sanks?
Like 3 minutes. Good job.
Yeah,
Extra
excellent.
credit.
He probably wants to see his contract go up 10% now. Yeah, that's an idea. Okay, it looks like no questions, so we will be happy to see your work product as it progresses through the steps, and we can get to the point where we can eventually take it to the citizens for review and approval. With that, I think we're finished with this agenda. So is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilman Clare, seconded by Councilman Donahue. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we are adjourned, and we're going to go to our regular meeting, which is noticed to start when this meeting ended. Anyone need a moment for a break, or are we ready to go ready to rock and roll? Ready to go. All right. So we'll call the regular meeting of the council to order. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, so I think we're able to skip that step. So the next item is Mayor and Council Member reports on current events. Councilor Romack, do you have anything you'd like to report on?
No, I'm good. No, Tom, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Donahue.
Well, yes. Thanks to my friend Paul Faith and someone else, I don't know, but I have taken your spot on Westmark, which actually I'm looking forward to. I think that's really going to be awesome. And I'm also serving on the Southwest Lending Closet, so I think they need to become a part of because we need exposure for them, but I've really enjoyed that. And Herman Orcutt has been assigned to be my mentor, which I couldn't be any more thrilled about.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I started with that, so thank you, not for retiring from that, but anyway. Secondly, this, you know how I like school stuff. I don't know if y'all know that the Millennium Girls basketball team won their 4th straight state championship. They've been to the state championship 5 out of the last 6 years in a row and lost 2. That's pretty cool. And they're all in the district besides, anyway. Secondly, and this is just noted, I went to the concert to help hand out things for the Arts and Crafts Festival. There must have been 600 people there. I didn't know one single solitary person. Same with the Arts and Crafts Festival, which I love. I'm saying this in a positive way because guess what? Those that come to that will come to this. So I think it's been awesome. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I didn't see one person. I was kind of like, where are y'all from? You know. Anyway, so I think that's pretty awesome. And the concert was incredible. I would say kudos to the group that planned it. That's really awesome. Just loaded. I mean, that, you know, the grass from one side to the other is completely full.
Perfect. That's good.
Yeah, anyway, that's all.
Okay, Councilman Clare.
Couple things. One, I got to do the flag raising for the Merchant Marines yesterday, and always enjoy that. It's great to let us give back a little bit to those who serve for us. So that was really nice service that we did yesterday. And then we have the Historical Park home tour back happening again this weekend. So I think that's something that try and get as many people engaged as possible in that.
Good. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw Sunny down at the Litchfield Park Fun Run, working that event that came off great. Again, it was quite a turnout. It was a good event. I spent all day Saturday at the Arts and Wine fair downtown with Lisa Brainerd and I trying to accost our local citizens for signatures for our nomination petitions. And as Ann had mentioned, it was shocking how many people were not from the park, and how few people were from Litchfield Park.
Mm-hmm.
That draws, it was extremely well attended. It drew a massive number of people into our city. And it was very, very well done also. As Councilman Clare mentioned, the home tour is coming up Saturday, and Friday night's the party, the VIP party. Go online, get tickets, go. I'm going to be at that event Friday night. And April 2nd, we have our State of the City. So anybody has nothing better to do on a Saturday morning, April 2nd, it'll be fun for all.
Coffee and pastries.
Yes.
At Sowers Hall. Right?
Sowers Hall, 9 a.m., yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just have a couple things I want to mention. The Kiwanis Fun Run was quite an event. I got to start the initial run at, was it 7:30, Sunny? Seemed like 6:30,
Yes, sir.
but anyway, it was
You're
very
right.
cold.
7:30.
Zero dark 30, and we got the runners off. And I think this was about the 16th, maybe 16th year that I was able to do that. So it was quite fun. It was good to see a good turnout. A lot of people from the community and a lot of people who are not from the community. So it was perfect. Also, I wanted to let the council know a couple of things about the JDM corner on the northwest corner of Wigwam and Litchfield Road. JDM called and has asked for a meeting between city staff and myself to go over a new proposal that they're going to make on the development of that corner. We'll see what they have in mind, and as we get information on that, we'll get that out to the council so you know what they're proposing. We also had a call. We've had two calls actually from developers wanting to know if the city was okay with a mixed-use development on that corner. And so we say, well, that's how the property is zoned, is a mixed-use development. So yes, we're, as a general matter, we're
On JDM's corner?
correct.
Oh.
So there's interest in developing that corner. Some of it is an outgrowth of the work that we're doing down here on our property. So there's various things that may be happening in the future in the JDM corner. So.
And you're going to meet with JD&M? That's those three that want to meet with you, or their staff?
Well, it's with Mel Schultz and his attorney.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
All right. So that's what I have to report. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report on current events or a report on?
Just a few things. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Several things to report on in your packet. One is that for REC, we had the highest spring registration since 2015 with 646 registrants. So that's great, and great to see those numbers coming back up, especially with the past several years of COVID. Just a few other things. The 3 Avondale PD Litchfield Park Tahoes have arrived, and they're now being outfitted with lights and decals, so we'll expect those soon. You may remember those were ordered back in the summer, but we were waiting for chips for those to be delivered. But again, they are being currently outfitted. One thing I would like to say is that you would see the Friends of the Rec Fund is going to come under the city budget for next year. For the past 30 years, it's been a fundraising arm for the rec. It was created in a time when the city couldn't or wouldn't fund rec activities and just couldn't. And now times have changed. And now those funds we brought into the city budget, we are recommending it be made as a city restricted fund as HERF is, so that it's only spent for rec activities. But we believe it's time to bring that under the city umbrella, so it will be audited and tracked as any other city account would. Also, staff is working on eliminating Channel 11. There was some discussion, I believe Councilor Romack asked about that last month, about the programming on there hadn't been updated in some time. So we think at this time, especially as people's TV habits change, et cetera, that it would be the perfect time to be done with Channel 11. And also, the JLL contract has been finalized and signed, and myself and several other staff members did recently have a kickoff meeting with JLL. So that process has begun. As always, welcome questions if there are any at this time.
So Friends of the Rec is going away? Or it's just being abandoned, or, its entity, right?
So the fun run will still raise money for Friends of the Rec,
Okay.
but that will be city funds. It can create a possible conflict because we have city employees that work in an event that's not necessarily a city event.
Gotcha.
So now it will be city funds for city events and have city employees there. It's just good all the way around, in my opinion.
Yeah, that Friends of the Rec is actually an outgrowth of a group that was originally called the Litchfield Park Youth Association. And when the city incorporated, the Youth Association disbanded and the Friends of the Rec became, it kind of took over the activities of the Youth Association. And so now that Friends of the Rec is just coming into the city umbrella entirely. Any other questions for Mr. Vice Mayor?
Matthew, in your report, you mentioned you've had numerous inquiries about the old Catholic Church south of the lake and potential uses. Can you give us kind of some ideas of what's going on there?
We have mainly two groups that are interested in that. One of them is a church group that's interested in that property and leasing it. Another one would be a commercial developer. There's how much I can say on that.
That's good enough. That gives me what I want to know.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
Because it is for sale right now, correct?
Correct.
Whoever's in there right now. And is it the group that's in there that owns it? They're not renting it from somebody, is it? They have to stop.
I think a different person owns it.
Oh,
That's correct.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then we'll go on to last meeting's, response to last meeting's call to the community. There were no requests to speak at the last meeting, so there's no response. Go to this meeting's call to the community. It's an opportunity for citizens to address the council on a non-agenda item. Do we have any requests to speak?
We do not.
Okay, then we'll go on then to the presentations section. First item is the yard of the quarter. David and Joan Loney, right? I don't know, are they here on the?
Up there?
Oh, there he is. Hello, David.
Hello. Thank you for letting me listen to the meeting.
Oh, absolutely. You're always welcome. We're going to virtually present you with a certificate for Yard of the Quarter. Great job that you guys did in making your home beautiful and winning that award. And I understand you'll also have a sign. I don't know if the sign's been installed. It has been installed already on your front yard. Hopefully
Yes.
the sign, you like.
Sign in the front yard.
Do you like the sign, I hope?
It's a very nice sign.
Yes?
Nice sign. Thank
Okay,
you.
well, good.
Appreciate it.
Well, this is on behalf of the Recreation and Public Grounds Commission. We appreciate your efforts to make Litchfield Park beautiful and your individual home beautiful. Thank you.
It's a beautiful city. We love it here.
Well, it's residents like you that help it stay beautiful. So thank you for your hard work on your yard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next item on this section is the introduction of new employees. Is Susan going to do that, or?
I'm here.
Oh, stuck in on the side there. Okay.
I was down the hall, so I just thought I'd come in.
Okay, come on in.
So we have several positions that we finally have been able to fill. Our Public Works, we have Meryl Rowe, Benita Castaneda, Richard Maldonado, Jared Stewart, Aaron Pacheco, and Mario Ayala. And I also would like to introduce our city engineer, Keith Janowski, and our chief building official, Brian Bertucci. And then we have two new site supervisors, Anthony Ong and Ade Bonner. And in preschool, we have Adriana Gardelano.
A lot of new people.
Wow, that's good.
Okay. Thank you for the introductions. Welcome new employees. We look forward to having you as part of our Litchfield Park family, and that and obviously we want to encourage you to do everything you can to make Litchfield Park as good a place for the residents as it can be. Thank you. All right, next item is on our report section. We have a report from Goodyear Fire Department. It says we have interim chief Paul here. He's not on the Zoom call.
He sent the agenda information.
Okay, so you have his report in your packet. If you have questions for the Goodyear Fire Department, bring it to the city manager, and we'll get those questions answered. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mayor. You and I have discussed this, so I wanted to just put it in the minutes that of the 81 responses, 70 were EMS calls, of which 24% one-to-one business. I think we are still basically underwriting a business model. Staff promised 2 months ago to look and see if they were complying with their zoning requirements, and I don't think I've heard back a response to that yet. Our calls are forecast to be about 20% higher this year. And we worked most people in the council don't realize this, but the mayor spent a massive amount of time, and the council was extremely involved in, it was a very difficult situation to get fire services to the city. And I would hate to have something happen where the economics were such that this didn't work, we had other problems with it. So I think we need to kind of watch things like this, and if we are underwriting a change in business policies with a certain business, we need to figure out a way to address it. Thank you.
I don't know if staff was able to find the documentation of the zoning change that was made for the business that is being discussed.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We did discuss the zoning today. Dan, do you mind giving a brief overview of what the zoning is on that?
Yes. Mayor, council. The biggest takeaway was section 18.02, use regulations shall be amended to read, on-site caregivers shall be permitted, but no on-site medical staff. I feel like without that on-site medical staff, most likely where the call will come from.
I thought they had an on-site medical, they used to have a nurse, but I thought someone reported to this last meeting that they were talking about adding that. Does that sound right? I don't know if you remind that.
I do feel like we discussed that maybe a year ago about that exact thing.
Oh, a year ago?
Now, I don't remember if one was ever hired or not, but I do remember it being said. But was that for Sun Health, or was that for that location? I don't
The
remember.
other location. Because they used to have an on-site nurse, but I know that, you know, like they could bring in mobile, you know, x-ray and that kind of stuff, so people were hopefully only being called out. Like, I think that the fire chief said last time that the ones that were transported needed to be transported versus those that come over and, you know.
And if they need to be transported, need the EMS, they need to provide that service.
Right.
But if their business model has changed
Right.
such that
You know,
their type of clientele
yeah.
is changed
Sicker.
and is not what we were led to believe when we granted this business permission to build, and what we granted to them when they came to us asking to increase their density in the rooms. Because if you remember, they went massively quiet for 3 or 4 months before that came to the council for approval to increase their capacity. And then, of course, as soon as the capacity was approved, a few months after that, they started going out, and now they're.
So I guess my question, Dan, is that the way we approved it was no medical service would be provided?
Correct. On the document.
Yeah.
You're saying that was
I'm
a
surprised we
stipulation
did
in the last case, or is that a stipulation that's in there, that's been in there for quite a while?
This is the ordinance number 12-176, which is the related to the King Ranch Pad planned area development consisting of approximately 4.4 acres, generally located at the Wigwam Creek Shopping Center.
The 12, I think 12 is probably when we did the original, not,
Yeah.
this isn't the change that we made about a year ago,
A year ago, okay.
Maybe 2 years?
2 years ago. Yeah, I mean,
Where they came in that.
it'll be something, you know,
Yeah.
that instead of 12 dash, it'll start out 20 dash or 21
Yeah.
dash.
Mayor.
They came to us.
Mayor
Yes.
and Council, it's Z1901 is the zoning case for Hacienda Del Rey. And it was a resident increase of population from 90 to 144. And yes, they did justify the request with the statements that they would have on-site medical staff to be first line of support.
They told us they would have it, not, it wasn't prohibited,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that
remember
was the
that. I don't-
justification, was that we wouldn't increase calls for service at that time because, or at least they perceived they wouldn't, because they'd have on-site medical staff as the first line of help.
I think what we're asking you guys to do is to go back to that zoning case, which was a year or two ago, and understand both from what's written in the zoning case and also what was testified during the council meeting by the applicant, you know, all of the factors surrounding this increased use, because it was discussed in the public meeting.
Yeah.
We talked with them about the fact we were concerned about that, and that, you know, that their numbers at that time had gone down, and, you know, we didn't want to see that change because of this change in density, or the number of patients that they, you know, number of residents that they can have in that facility. So I know it was discussed, and that's what we need you to go find out, is all the background around that, to see how we're gonna, how can we proceed now if we want to do something.
Looking at the incidents per 1,000, we're 50% higher than Goodyear since November.
Right, and it's all basically this one business
Correct.
that's driving that, so it's a problem.
They clearly don't have medical people there.
Yeah, 24% of our EMS calls, one business last.
100.
Yeah. So we've got to get in this, and you know, you're going to have to get the research done on what exactly what was done when we changed the density, what was promised to us, and then we need you to work with the city attorney and understand what kinds of steps can we take, so that if someone is is abusing the system based upon their business model, that we can be compensated for it, basically, because otherwise our residents are going to pay, all the residents in Litchfield Park are going to pay for this, for this one business.
Are they
It's not-
required
it's not
through
okay.
Health and Human Services to have somebody on staff or have
No.
somebody on call?
No.
Mayor, I can let you know, I started looking into this recently, and, you know, it's not unique to Litchfield Park. It's an issue that's happening in a lot of jurisdictions across the country where EMS is being called out for non-emergency or non-serious situations for these care facilities, and it's taken away emergency response personnel from actual emergencies and stuff. A lot of times they're responding and there's not even a transport because they're treating these as nurse calls or what have you. Then there's also the argument that these businesses are attempting to shift their liability by, as soon as EMS shows up, then that liability shifts over to EMS as opposed to that facility doing these standard of care things that should be taking place there. So it may be a little difficult with on the EMS side. I mean, these are the statutes and rules that govern EMS emergency services in Arizona. But I did see where some municipalities have tried to address it through business licensing fees and things on the business end of it to address those additional costs and the drain on the resources for that service.
This group that's there now has multiple, I mean, it's a huge business, has multiple
It's a large
care centers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need you to continue to work on that, and staff to work with you to try to find, we need to find out what our situation is with the zoning case and what rights we might have under that case. But also, we want to look to see what we can do from a proactive standpoint. We might take a look at the development agreement that we just entered into with Sun Health, because we have a provision in there to cover this problem in the Sun Health development agreement for Loma. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Take the average number of calls they had for the 6 months before their last zoning request, give them that many free, and then charge them the cost of services for each one thereafter.
And it's kind of interesting as well, because there was a recent change to the statute. I think it was just this last year, the governor signed in the healthcare institutions basic life support and first aid statute 36-420, where it says healthcare institutions, this applies to congregate or residential care, prescribed in this section, shall provide, and then it requires them to provide basic life support, including initiating immediate resuscitation areas and having that staff available to be able to provide that
initial service that they
Right,
get.
so that's something we'll need to go and do an audit on and see if they have. Okay, so I think you understand that we're concerned about this, and we need to get ahead of this, this snowball before it consumes our fire and emergency services.
We'll look into it and report back, sir.
All right.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes,
The interim chief from Goodyear has just joined us on this.
okay, interim chief. Paul. Yeah, Paul, I'm just looking for him. Oh, there he is, Paul. Interim chief, are you here? Mr. Chief Paul?
Ed Paul, yes, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. We kind of snuck up on you here. We started a little early because we noticed the meeting to be directly after we finished an earlier meeting. So that may have caused you to be coming in late. We have generally had some discussion about your report, specifically about the EMS calls at one of the business locations. Is there anything that you would like to highlight about your report or tell us about what's going on within the fire department?
Well, I have some information on a couple specific locations, Hacienda del Rey and La Loma, that I was told you would be maybe interested in. Hacienda del Rey, we had 17 calls at that facility in February. Of the 17 calls, 13 of them resulted in a transport to a medical facility. The other 4, the patients decided to stay. So we continue to work with that facility to try to get them to understand whether it's really necessary to call 911 or not. But that's just kind of an ongoing thing. A trend with these 3 out of the 4 refusals were new to that facility, like very recently became residents there. So a lot of times we see in facilities like that, if there's not really a history with that patient, the caregivers don't necessarily know whether this is a regular mentality or if it's an emergency.
Okay.
The other facility, La Loma, we had 6 calls for service there, and all 6 of those calls resulted in transports to medical facility.
Okay.
Do we have a sense of the population difference between those 2 facilities?
I don't have a sense.
Different makeup of
No,
clientele also.
just numbers. I don't know how many what the numbers are like at the Loma versus Hacienda.
Would imagine it's not 3 times the population at Hacienda, though.
No, I wouldn't think
That's
so.
not 3 times?
I would imagine it's not.
Yeah.
That might be another interesting statistic for you staff to
But that many
ferret out
needed
for us.
transport, so that in our feeling is legit, other than.
Correct.
Yeah,
6 calls, 6 transits.
yeah, and then 17 and 14 transits, yeah.
Yeah, and on the surface during a pandemic, you would think that, a lot of those might be difficulty breathing, suspected COVID, but a majority of them were fall injuries at Hacienda. So not really suspected of being COVID. Yeah, it's really hard telling. I don't have the numbers of residents at each of these facilities to try and compare it.
Well, and it may be that they need to do some training on their staff about fall prevention, if a lot of these are falls.
Yes, yeah. So that's something that we will, our EMS chief is in contact with them on a regular basis, and this is something that we will address with them.
Okay, thank you.
Other than that, really, the calls for service is up. We're at 81 for February, which is up 88% from February of last year. So quite the increase. And again, you would think that that would be COVID related. For the calls to residential, it's hit and miss, whether it's COVID related or not. Moving on, other items that we have are plan reviews. In February, there were 2 plan reviews conducted, 2 construction permits, 21 occupancy inspections, and 3 special events that we had inspectors at. That's really all of the data that we have. Do you have any questions of the fire department?
Questions from council? I don't see any, Chief. Thank you for taking your time this evening to come onto the Zoom meeting and address the council. We appreciate it. Congratulations, I guess, are in order for your interim appointment. While Chief Luizzi is often into city government, being is he deputy city manager or something now?
Yes, deputy city manager. Deputy Chief Tim Wayne is the interim fire chief, and they moved me into the interim deputy chief and in Chief Wayne's position.
Okay, well, congratulations, and I suppose we'll be seeing you when you draw the short straw. So, well, welcome to the council, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Well, thank you. I always enjoy being here, and if I get promoted next month, you'll see me more.
All right, perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, takes us to the report from the Avondale Police Department. Chief Espinoza is here to give us a report. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As always, good to see you. February, our team took a total of 241 calls for service. Of those 241 calls for service, 115 of those were self-initiated for a total of 47%. In reference to the flock system, for the month of February, we had a total of 6 activations. One of those activations was related to a stolen vehicle, which we could not locate. 3 of those 6 activations were in reference to a sex offender. Those we cannot attempt to locate, because if we do locate them and we do conduct a traffic stop, we could be violating their constitutional rights. It's more of an information type of notification. The other 2 notifications were notifications of a vehicle that we entered into the flock system. We entered that vehicle into the system. It was associated with an investigation that we were conducted. And you'll see in the narrative portion of the report that at the time of the incident, the case was still under investigation. However, since then, we were able to locate a suspect, and it was thanks to the flock system. In addition to that, you'll see that under notable flock incidents that we had, that we used the flock system to assist us with 2 of our investigations. So we are putting quite the use to the system. It's worked out pretty good for us, and our team loves it. Another noticeable piece of activity, if you can take a look at the number of traffic stops that we conducted this month, is we conducted a total of 63 traffic stops compared to 29 in the month of January. Most of the traffic stops were conducted on Litchfield Road, and they were associated with speeding vehicles. The other factor to the increase is that we started using an undercover vehicle at the 4-way stop. It's a fully marked, or it's an unmarked unit. It has lights and sirens, and it's been very effective. We think that we're getting used to, hey, if the patrol car is not there, we can do the California roll. However, we switch it up a little bit, and we're using an unmarked unit, and it's been very effective. At this time, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Before we get to questions, I want to applaud you for your proactive nature of trying to keep that four-way stop an actual stop. So it's a good idea to use an unmarked car and let people know that, we will potentially fine them if they don't have the courtesy to stop. So questions from council?
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any. Thank you for your service to our community, and let your guys know that, we appreciate what they're doing. I think everyone on the council will support the statement that our residents are very happy that you're here, and they're very satisfied that they get to see the police car now. So it's a good you have a good presence in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I look forward to see you guys at the State of the City.
There you go.
Yeah, it's coming up here shortly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we'll go to staff reports, finance, Ms. Page.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, good evening. I have the finance report through the end of February, so 8 months through the fiscal year. Terry, if you can share the sales tax report first. So our retail sales were, they were down 21% over February of 21. However, in February of 21, we had a large one-time sales tax payment of $120,000. So if you back that out and just compare our ongoing to our ongoing, it would have actually been up 6.2%. So in total, this February compared to last February was nearly flat. But again, if you backed out that $120,000 one-time payment, we would have been up about 20%. Last month, Vice Mayor, you asked me to double check the utilities. And we used to have one utility company pay us directly through the franchise fees, and now they pay it through the TPT. And so that's why the utility increase has gone up since 2019.
I don't understand why it went up. Are we collecting more money, or it's just being reported differently?
It just used to be paid directly to us through a franchise fee. Like they cut us a check directly rather than paying it through the TPT tax through the Department of Revenue.
Right.
So it's the same money, it's just reported as sales tax now where it used to be a franchise revenue.
Okay, thank you. So we don't have any additional money coming in, we're collecting the same amount?
Yes. Construction sales tax is up 8% over last year. And so in total with construction and other sales tax, we're up 2% February over February. And then as a whole, we're up 19% year over year. We can move on to the full report unless there's any questions about sales tax.
Questions, council? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Do you have any guesstimates of how much of that construction sales tax is money we're paying ourselves for construction sales tax?
It is a pretty good chunk. I don't have it right here with me, but I can get that. But it's definitely, we are paying ourselves back.
And the state?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Our general fund revenue as a whole, we're at 82% of our budget, and we're only at 67% of the year, so doing very well. Our expenses, we're at 58% total general fund. We do have a couple departments that are over the 67%. I think those will smooth out by the end of the year, except for IT. I've been talking about that all year. We'll be requesting to use some contingency funds by the time the year is over. One-time revenues, we did receive just over $79,000 from Maricopa County Flood Control District for the flood control project that Woody has presented to you before. Our capital expenses, one-time expenses, we've spent just over $1 million, and then we've spent just under 1.4 for Litchfield Square utilities. So that gives our general fund an ending fund balance of just under $18.4 million. Next page is the detail of recreation services and special events. I won't go over any of that unless anybody would have any specific questions. We keep going to our special revenue funds, Terry. The HERF fund, We're at 72% of budgeted revenues. That's directly related to our census numbers coming in higher than the state originally projected. Our expenses are just over $106,000, so that gives us an ending fund balance in the HER fund of $1,340,000. And then our Litchfield Square, I already mentioned we've transferred just under $1.4 million from the general fund, and expenses that have posted when this report was prepared is $5.4 million. However, there were some other invoices pending. That leaves an ending balance in our Litchfield Square Capital Project Fund of just under $11 million. In our SLIDs, our Street Lighting Improvement Districts, we do have, our expenses were higher than revenues by $16,000 last month. However, the revenue just hadn't posted yet, so that will smooth out. And then our Court Enhancement Fund, we did have a little revenue, just over $2,600. We've charged almost $64,000 in operating, so that gives us an ending balance of $119,000. And our total fund balance, all funds combined, is $30.8 million, with just under 18.4 of that in general fund, which is 21.6 months of operating expenditures. That is all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, questions from council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Romack.
Thank you. Page, on the top of page 4, you show land sales at Litchfield Square. Maybe not there. It says Litchfield Square. Litchfield Square Capital, yeah, land sales, $1,880,000. Can you tell me what that is? Or is that just budgeted?
That was a budgeted amount. We
Oh,
had just
okay.
estimated we might sell $1.8 million in land sales, and then the column to the left of that is the actual, which is 0.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. My mistake. Sorry.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for the report. Ms. Peterson, we appreciate it. Keep our city in good financial shape so we can weather the storm. All right, next item is a Litchfield Square update. Mr. Scouten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So just a few items I wanted to highlight. First of all, speaking of land sales, we received a bid for lot number 3. So we'll be moving ahead with that process. We have now completed the stormwater dry wells are completed, and now finished all of the duct bank work in Litchfield Road, which was the underground electrical and telecommunications system that we needed to get in place before we build that part of the street. We have the grading of the east half of Litchfield Road currently underway. And as that progresses, you'll start to see the shape of the roundabout and the street connections coming out from the grading. We're also currently working on duct banks inside the site. So this would be all of the power, gas, telecommunications, ductwork that we need to install. We were able to switch the existing irrigation system on Litchfield Road over to a temporary water supply because we had to remove the existing supply to make room for the roundabout. Aiken Gardner has been doing some investigation on the truck scale that's on the west side of City Hall, because eventually that will have to be removed so that we can build the street improvements adjacent to City Hall there. So we're being very delicate about that, trying to figure out exactly what it's made of and how big it is and whether or not it's connected to the building. We don't think it is, but we're checking on that just to be sure. And then finally, we're working with the Wigwam folks to move and install underground a significant portion of the airline canal so that we can make room in that area for future parking lot and parking garage. And we think that that work will be undertaken probably in the November, December timeframe of this year when their water demands are low. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, any questions from council? One question, Mr. Scouten, is what's the progress or the status of the portion of the sidewalk that we need where on Village Park, where when it comes out, the Village Parkway corner of be the southwest corner, where we need some of that sidewalk because of the roundabout?
Yes, sir. As you know, we need to have an easement there to move the sidewalk, which is already partially on private property, but we want to move a little bit more of it onto the property owner there, the property, in order to make room for the wigwam, or for the, I'm sorry, for the roundabout. We can build everything except the sidewalk without the easement, but at some point we're going to need to have that easement so that we can finish the sidewalk and the street light. And what I can tell you is that I have submitted a revised legal description because we did need to include the street light. I submitted that to the JDM representative about 2 weeks ago.
Have we made any progress in getting an appraisal for that property?
Perhaps the city attorney can answer that question.
Yes, we've retained an appraiser and got him going, got him the initial information that he asked for that parcel, and we're trying to get him to expedite that, so hopefully within 30 to 45 days.
He has the current legal description that Mr. Scouten referenced.
He's got that. And,
all right. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Scouten. That takes us now to the consent agenda, item 9. We have 9A through G. Is there any member of the council that wishes to take any item off of the consent agenda for discussion? Okay, I don't see any.
I have a question, if I could.
All right, is it significant enough that we should remove the item?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But on the
understanding that during consent we don't really discuss.
I know. Maybe just explain.
Okay.
We've been using the Mojave bid process, those forms and stuff, and now we switched back over to the state process for this one item. Why?
No particular reason. We just are utilizing all the cooperatives that we can.
Is one of them better than the other?
No, sir. I did ask that question when I found out one particular contractor was on there, and I asked, what's the difference on them? There's really no difference. It's just a preference in the city. They're just out there on all the co-ops as options for their services.
I apologize. We have been exploring different options for contractors. There was a while back, Vice Mayor, you'll remember, of course, so when you asked that exact question, but looking at different options such as the Mojave, such as state bid, and we have been doing that and looking at different options for things.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a motion to approve consent items 9A through G?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aye.
Second by the Vice Mayor.
Aye.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is adopted as presented. Next item is the business agenda. We've got Litchfield Square Lot 3 Development and Purchase Agreement. Mr. Williams.
Mayor and Council, on this item, we do have Mike Hirsch here with us tonight. He, of course, is going to present some designs, some preliminary designs that are in your council pack. He does some display boards to show. One thing on this item is actually two parts. One is his designs, and the other is the draft development purchase agreement. We recommend that we do an executive session tonight at the end of the meeting to discuss those draft documents. So at this time, I'd like to ask Mike to present his designs, and then later on tonight, we will discuss those documents in executive session.
Mr. Hirsch.
Best if I just stood right here and,
Wherever you feel comfortable.
I don't know if there's people from the camp where they're.
Where's the camera?
All right. So first of all, thank you. Honored to be here, council and mayor and staff. You guys have this in the packet, but I thought bigger is better sometimes. So I have a few pictures. And I really, I think when you look at this, you'll notice, and this is preliminary design, we're really trying to capture the essence of the community. You'll see in here, you can kind of see some of the white stucco look that you'd see at the Church of Litchfield Park, or you'd see at the Wigwam. And then we've got some kind of brown tan elements. Yeah, let me catch that up, and I don't know if the camera is right behind me.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, but it's also in the packet. But anyway, the brown elements, kind of like that you'd see over at Litchfield School, just some of the colors, and then reddish orange roof tiles, which you'd see at the church as well as the school. So trying to take some of the classic lines and colors and themes that we have in Litchfield Park and really integrate it into, a more functional. In no way would I call it modern, but just, something more timely, today. So that's just kind of an overview picture. I think, second one that captures a little bit different angle, but it's essentially the same area. You've got the walkway over there and the arches that we've squared off a little more versus a rounded traditional arch. Similar to what you see at the Pointer House. I think it's got kind of more squared off arches, and at the Wigwam in some places. But what I also want to point out is we've got some upstairs. This will be where the office is, and then we plan to have some walkways along, as well as patio seating for dining, or just really for some of the office users, it'd probably be more for just having a cup of coffee. And then in the middle, this is the courtyard, and it's a pretty deep courtyard, even though this angle might not show it, but the point is really to have an area for people to congregate, whether they're sitting outside having a cup of coffee, whether they're dining, but an area that they can kind of mill around and an area to gather. So those are a few of the things that I wanted to point out. There's some planters that would be in the middle area just to bring in more greenery. We've shown trees, which in this picture I can't really bake them. They're a little transparent there, so it shows the depth of the building and the pictures of the building, but the point is it'll be very shaded, nice area to gather. This gives you a picture of the walkway, very similar to the village center we have today, where you can walk through. It'll be shaded. You'll see kind of some of this brick element that we're going to do, which will be kind of a tannish color that I think will really blend in well. It really plays off the adobe look that you'd see actually inside of Papa Paul's, kind of to that degree. It'd probably be more of a facade. It won't be actual adobe brick there. I don't think that would work real well for today's design. But shaded area to walk through, and then this area right here, the plan is to have that be a walkway above for the office users. So they'll have a little area to sit outside. And the thought is, if there's a concert in the park or something going on, or an arts in the park, you could be upstairs and look over it. So it'd be really a nice amenity for the office users. And in this design, it's about 50,000 square feet, which will likely be phased in 2 phases. That's typically with a development of this size, we don't want to jump at it all at once. This kind of gives broad strokes. It could vary a little bit, but the design will be centered around a courtyard. It will have likely restaurants on both ends. We just think that's the best way to see into the park and create some shaded areas for dining. And then retail on the bottom. I call it boutique and unique. I think it's kind of corny, but it captures the essence of what we're trying to do. And that is, we're not going to have Subway next to the title place and stuff like that. We want to have some small boutique retailers, as well as some fun office fun restaurants to eat and enjoy. And then upstairs will be mostly office. I'd imagine it'll be all office at some point. Just that's the way it works. People want to shop downstairs. People can come from upstairs to go down. And those will likely be smaller businesses. We've got one that's about 7,000 feet of office use in here. But, you know, they'll be more local. I don't think we're getting Microsoft to come in here or anything like that. But we hope to attract some other office users that will enjoy the amenities of the square and the park. So that kind of gives you an overall footprint. I think I'll mention this brown area is all covered patio and covered walkway. And the plan is, whether it's 2 or 3 of these, some sort of breezeways that'll connect the back and connect onto the sidewalks and to create some connectivity to Litchfield Park. So, got one other drawing. It doesn't show a lot different. It's just sort of some outside dining. I think it would probably, this is under a covered patio. And this is actually on the opposite side of the courtyard that the other piece was. So right above this would be some covered or some open patio seating on the second floor. So that's just the general overview of what we've got going, and I shared that with I guess it's called the working group, I believe, like last week. And excited to get going on it and get our agreements in place and really jump into design and go through the design review board process.
Okay.
So any questions, I guess?
Comments or questions to council?
Exciting.
Yeah, well, we're really excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
One comment and one question from me.
Yeah.
The issue of staging and the construction schedule is going to be one that is going to be something of significant interest to the council and staff. So, one of the things that we have wanted to make sure of was that once we start a project or start a parcel, that we complete a parcel.
Of course.
So that we don't end up with, stuff kind of half done and the parcel not, the parcel development not finished. So you need to think that through very carefully as you bring us a proposal on that. And then the second thing is a question. And that really, it's something that I would just like to understand as you get through or start working on the actual design of the building. There are some instances where you get into a commercial building that's multi-story, and people on the bottom floor can hear the people on the top floor walking around because the type of construction methods themselves do not provide that insulation between the floors. As activities are going on upstairs, they start impinging on downstairs. And I would hope that we would have some assurance from you and the types of construction techniques you're going to use that will not be an issue in these buildings.
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave that to the engineers and architects to design, but I would certainly hope that wouldn't be a problem because that would make it hard even to market. That would be not desirable at all.
And there are some buildings in this area where that is an issue because I've been there in meetings and I'm on the bottom floor and I can hear people on top floor.
Yeah, no, valuable input and something that we'll certainly make sure we address with the design team. Okay. And I'll just say one thing about the phasing. The reality is if we've done some pre-leasing and a lot of discussions, and we don't know what the times are ahead of us, right? And so we want to be smart when we do this and not go overly ambitious. And so the thought was, we're going to design everything as if it could be built right away. And if the leasing activity is there, then it makes absolute sense. It's actually more cost effective for us to just go ahead and build it all at once. And I think if we were to phase it, it would be a small section that would, not interfere with the way the building looks. I mean, obviously you're going to see a section not done, but I think we could do that intelligently, smartly, plan together, work together. But, at this point, we're going to be going through design starting in the next, 30, 60 days, where we won't be building this thing until January, February-ish, and I think
Right,
we've got
no,
time.
it's out. I'm just giving you a heads up that it's one of those issues that we're gonna have a lot of interest in.
Yeah.
So the construction schedule and the issue of how you might decide on staging and how long this period might be between activity and no activity, that those are gonna be very important pieces of this puzzle.
Understood, of course, thank you. And we would hope that it's not a long time in between anyway, so.
Right. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah.
Mike, are you anticipating closing on the land purchase and on construction financing simultaneously?
Well, got some 1031 money coming into it, honestly, to candidly answer, we would close on the land probably before, if it was all approved and ready to, by the council, and it met the criteria that's in the development agreement, I guess, is what I would say.
Has your 180 days started clicking already?
Yeah. That's not, that's not going to be the tail wagging the dog, but of course, it would be a nice thing to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Only can't wear shoes on the second floor.
No shoes.
Slippers only, right?
Hey, my daughter lives in DC,
Yeah.
and then they put that on there, like, if you live on the upper floor, you're supposed to take
No,
your shoes off.
I've
There you
experienced
go.
that too, and I know a lot of well-done buildings don't have that, so it will be in that latter category.
Those
so.
tap dance classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it and look forward to continuing going through the process.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your interest and thank you for your bid.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, we will come back to this item as part of potential executive session at the end of the business session. So the next item is an introduction of ordinance 22-256. Ms. Roth.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet tonight is the amendment for the code regarding dates for placement and removal of political signs on private property and right-of-ways. They have extended it from 60 days to 71, so this amendment is current with statute.
The state has done that.
Any questions from council? Okay, is there a motion to introduce ordinance 22-256, amending the zoning code subsection on temporary signs? Is there a second?
Sure.
Okay, any further discussion on this? Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Just so the minutes are clear, if you read last month's minutes with the questioning and the comments we had on this, there were some comments on the signs being able to go up before the petitions were required to be filed. But I think that's been clarified now because there was a mistake in the packet and the petitions are due in April and the signs can go up in June. So, okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of introducing ordinance 22-256, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ordinance is introduced. Next item is an adoption of ordinance 22-257 concerning the Camelback Road right-of-way annexation. Mr. Scouten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You've seen this item a couple of times. The council has approved an IGA with Maricopa County by where the city has agreed to annex the right-of-way on Camelback Road from 145th Avenue to 127th Avenue, basically from the Goodyear city limits on the west end, in return for a payment of $3.511 million from Maricopa County. So you approved that IGA, and then we introduced this ordinance at your February meeting, which was approved, and now this is the final action to make this annexation official. And we're waiting. I don't know if the city clerk has heard anything from Maricopa County, but we're waiting for them to take their action, which would then complete the annexation process. And the right of way would become ours.
Any questions from council? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Council's been patient with me with my questions on this in the past and stuff. I've thought about this a lot, and I appreciate that we kind of shortened the amount of land that we're taking to the east to 127th, I believe it is, 23rd. The staff has told us that the only cost of this will be maintaining the roads and $12,000 a year for 2 traffic lights and maybe some future traffic lights. Has anybody looked at what our cost may be, or the amount of time and effort that will be for police and fire at these 2 intersections? How many accidents do we get at Camelback and Litchfield Road now that are in our area? Or do we respond to all of them already, even if we're not? Well, we don't have all of Litchfield and Camelback. We've got this little island in the middle of the intersection that must be county or something.
Yeah, we actually have an island that's on the west side of that intersection. I don't think we have the intersection itself.
Yeah.
Although I think our police, in the past, we haven't really had a significant accident there for a while. There was a truck accident maybe, let's say 3 or 4 months ago, where a truck went through the intersection and it was westbound on Camelback. I'm trying to think before that. So, but our police would respond generally to that intersection anyway.
At Camelback and Litchfield?
Yeah, the fire department EMS is going to be the same, whether it, whether, no matter who it is that's in that, that's going to be.
Whoever's closest, right?
Yeah. So I don't think we've looked at specifically at additional costs. Some of the cost is just wrapped up in our, in our overall contracts that are not, it's not as though there's a line item that's going to chart where we're going to be charged extra because there's been an accident there.
There's going to be a line item one of these days with our fire.
It could be.
It continues to grow.
And I can tell you, having been out in the greens and the villages on some campaign-related issues, campaign activities, that the residents over there are very, very concerned about the heavy-duty truck traffic on that road.
On Camelback.
On Camelback.
They want a wall.
Well, they want more than a wall. A wall's not going to resolve that. I mean, these are people that are not on Camelback, but they're in several streets, and the noise is quite significant. And the only way that we can get control over that is if we have control of that road. It's not we have no other options.
No, I understand that. We've discussed that. I'm just trying to get a feel for what this is really going to cost us. It seems like it's going to be a chunk out of our budget, but.
We don't have, that I'm aware of, we don't have line items in our budget to cover wrecks on Litchfield Road or wrecks in the intersections in Dysart and we don't really see those costs as individual items that come to us. They're part of the overall overhead of the city.
And behind the city center, this will probably be the number 2 largest thing that we've done.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I don't have a real good idea for what it's going to cost us. But,
I don't know of any way to easily quantify that, or I would have done that as part of the analysis on it. It's a background cost that if we're able to slow traffic down on both Camelback and Litchfield, which we clearly are working towards, those intersections will become safer and we'll have less likelihood of significant crashes. We've got plans that we're working already with Sun Health for putting in stoplights just to the north of that intersection, which will get that control. It'll control that traffic a lot better. It'll slow it down coming to the south. And if we take further steps from the south for the traffic going north, then we can make those intersections a lot safer.
Talk with Sun Health for the traffic light, is that to get the thing to line up with something on the other side of the road, whereas their road now doesn't?
Well, there's two traffic lights. One is at Missouri, And the second traffic light is where you would come out of La Loma and go into Fry's. So,
Those don't line up, do they?
what do you mean line up?
The
The roads
driveway
don't.
that they put in, that Loma
One
put
there, one
in.
there.
They don't, but they will, I think.
Thank you.
We're working on that now.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion on, I don't, well, I guess do we have a motion to adopt? Haven't done that yet. All right, so is there a motion to adopt ordinance 22-257, to complete the Camelback Road right-of-way annexation? Okay, is there a second? Councilor Romack has got his hand up. He's seconding. I do have one question before we go to a vote. Do we know the timing of this $3.5 million from the county?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that money will become available on, I think it's July 1st, 2022. Yeah, July 1st of this year.
Okay. Fine,
July 1,
because
2022, yeah.
the reason I ask is that I believe, excuse me, I believe that Sun Health is interested in trying to do their half of the road improvements fairly soon. And we want to make sure that we can do our half of the road improvements at the same time, so that it's all done together and it looks good, so. Okay, so with that, all those in favor of adopting ordinance 22-257, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion is adopted. Next item is downtown storm drain phase 4 and 5 change order. Mr. Scouten.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If you recall, we were awarded a 50% matching grant from the Flood Control District to install the last two phases of our downtown storm drain system. Earlier this year, I guess it was later last year, we hired Aztec Engineering to undertake the design of those storm drains, and they're at about 80% complete with that design now. So it's time to get our contractor on board. And I am recommending that we take the same approach with this project as we took with Litchfield Square, which is to use a CMAR contractor, construction manager at risk. And I'm also recommending that we utilize Aiken Gardner for this project for several reasons. And they're listed in in the staff report, but let me run through them real quick. Aiken Gardner, of course, still has some work to do in Old Litchfield Road as a part of Litchfield Square. So they're going to be out there working on the median, specifically for that intersection with Village Parkway when it's extended to Old Litchfield Road. To have Aiken Gardner working in that aspect, and then also having a second contractor working on the storm drain project would make it difficult and would probably raise some conflicts in terms of traffic control, scheduling, and so on. Aiken Gardner has already mobilized a lot of people, equipment, and site management facilities for the Litchfield Square project. Having another contractor working for us, they'd have to duplicate those resources. So I'm estimating that this is going to save us about $30,000 just in overhead for the project. And then lastly, Aiken Gardner, by virtue of working in the downtown area, now has developed a very good understanding of all of the utilities, which was gained with some pain, but they now have that really good understanding of not only utilities, but also the downtown businesses and the traffic patterns and the school and everything that goes, all the intricacies that go with working in the downtown area. So again, I think we gained from having that knowledge reused on the downtown storm drain project. One last complicating factor is that Liberty Utilities will be replacing one of their mains in Old Litchfield Road because it's old and beginning to fail. And I have encouraged them to work directly with Aiken Gardner to replace that water line, and they have reached an agreement so that Aiken Gardner will be able to install these storm drains at the same time that they are installing the new water line for Liberty Utilities. And that will, of course, minimize the amount of disruption that we'll have in the downtown area, especially for the businesses. So with that, what I'm recommending is that we approve a change order number 1 to the pre-construction services for Aiken Gardner's existing pre-construction services contract that we have with them for Litchfield Square. The amount of the estimated pre-construction services is $114,811.28, and the vast majority of that is for potholing. And we think we're going to need to have up to 60 potholes along this route of Neolin Avenue, Old Litchfield Road, and Fairway Drive in order to identify all of the utilities that might be in conflict. We know roughly where they are, but we don't know how deep they are. So we need to expose them and understand to what extent they're going to be in conflict with the new pipe. Once we do that, then it'll be a matter of having the utility companies come in and actually do the relocations of their facilities to get them out of the way for the new pipe. So the main thrust of this contract, this pre-construction services contract, is to get that utility information that we need in order to finish the design and get ready for construction of the storm drains. And with that, I'll end and ask for any questions.
Any questions from council? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Will these new storm drains in this construction be in the northbound or the southbound lanes of Old Litchfield Road?
It will be in the northbound lane, very, very close to the edge of the median, very close to the side of the median.
So asphalt along there.
And one of the reasons we're doing that is because we're hopeful that we can then maintain a single lane of northbound traffic. We'll lose the parking, obviously, but during construction, we'll be able to maintain a lane of northbound traffic.
Okay. The reason the asphalt's so bad there is that when we reconstructed Old Litchfield Road, we only repaved the southbound lanes because we anticipated doing this project back then, and we didn't want to pave those lanes and then lose the new paving. So we just put a microseal type thing on it, which was supposed to last for a couple of years, and now it's been 15. So we got very good life. We got very good life out of it.
It's like driving over plates.
Yeah, but now we're gonna,
now we're gonna down. It rattles like potato chips when you drive.
Now we're gonna replace all of it. So finally, we're gonna finally complete this project. Any other questions for Mr. Scouten? All right, is there a motion to approve change order number 1 to the pre-construction services contract for construction manager at risk Aiken Gardner Construction in the amount not to exceed $114,811.28?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second here. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item is Litchfield Square APS line extension agreement. Mr. Scouten.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. If we want to have power in Litchfield Square for the new buildings, we need to sign this agreement. That's about the plainest I can make it.
All right, any questions from council?
APS, they've completed all their design and have identified all of the wires and switch cabinets and transformers and so on that we're going to need for the project. And they sent us a bill for $327,882. I'm sorry, $327,882.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving a line extension agreement with APS in the amount of $327,882, please signify by saying yes. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is a gas facilities extension agreement with Southwest Gas for Litchfield Square.
Motion to approve.
Yep.
Second.
Well, hang on a second.
Any further discussion, Mr. Stoughton?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm currently negotiating with Southwest Gas on this dollar amount because we provided them with an easement to install their new 12-inch gas main along the north side of the pedestrian pedestrian underpass ramp, which they've just done or in the process of working on. So I'm hoping that this number will be reduced or eliminated. That's probably too optimistic, but I'm hoping that this number will be reduced. And in that case, I'd like for the motion to read at a cost not to exceed $42,004.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve a facilities extension agreement with Southwest Gas Corporation for installation of natural gas facilities at a project cost not to exceed $42,004?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is an adoption of Resolution 22-515 concerning a license and right-of-way use agreement. Mr. Williams.
Mayor and Council, this is the resolution and contract with Zona Wired. We have been working on this contract for about 6 months, back and forth. I would also recognize Jason. We have Jason on the call. He's here with us tonight representing Zona Wired. Zona Wired is a broadband company. They're looking to bring high-speed broadband in the community to be another service provider for people. What they basically do is build the broadband infrastructure in the city right-of-way, and then people can contact them to connect from their homes to the infrastructure. The biggest thing how this comes into play with us, one, of course, is allowing them to build in city right-of-ways. There is a linear right-of-way fee. For every foot of conduit they put in city right-of-way, they pay $2.10 per foot per year. They also, of course, would pay TPD fees. One thing on this also, they would, of course, any asphalt they dig up, they would, of course, put back. And asphalt, what if I'm wrong on this, please correct me. Any asphalt, of course, that's less than 3 years old, they would put back in as is condition as per required as city code. It is linked to contract, of course.
I'm sorry.
Was that you, Woody?
Yes, I'm sorry. We have a 2-year moratorium, so I'm not sure that this would qualify to allow them to cut anything less than 2 years old.
Thank you, Woody.
How many feet?
Sir?
How many feet are they talking about installing?
Jason, the vice mayor, if you can hear him, he's asking how many feet are you guys looking to install in Spark? I know you sent me the map, but that's a confidential document. Can you talk about how many feet you guys are looking to install?
So if you give me a second, I can actually pull that document up and give you a starting. I'm pulling this up right now. Filter onto Litchfield Park.
While Jason's finding a few of the things on that, any future leases for dark fiber or conduit to third-party users would require a separate agreement. Again, that'd all be up to city code. This agreement's been going multiple cities around us. They're expanding greatly in the West Valley, and their residential plans would range from 300 Mbps up to 2 gig.
So currently
Also on the
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jason.
So currently we have forecasted approximately 44,000 linear feet of fiber optics within the city at this present time.
44,000 feet, you said, Jason?
Yeah, that's the total amount we have forecasted at present time.
Mayor and Council, at full build out, that would be about $88,000 a year.
Will it be trenched or bored or both or?
Depending on the section, sir. It could be either way. It could be bored where needed. It could be trenched.
Are we doing every city in the town? We doing all service in all neighborhoods? We skipping some neighborhoods?
Jason?
Those are great questions. So our goal is to try to get out to every part of the city. That's what we're doing with Surprise and everyone else. There will be instances where those are those very large lots that we're going to have to pass by to get through. Those will take a little bit more time just because the cost per passing is higher. So we'll have to figure out where we can offset that. And some of those are some of the ways we do that is when we find areas, not necessarily within the city of Litchfield Park, or it would be like a Goodyear or some of those areas where they're expanding. If I could find an area where I just have to put pipe in the trench in a new subdivision, then my price per passing is lower and I can kind of flatten that out, if that makes sense, right? So let's just say, and don't hold me to this, we'll throw out a number. It's $1,000 to pass a house on normal 70-foot passing, but to go 140 feet, you're talking $2,000. If I can find a home subdivision that's being built new and it costs me $3, now I start to get that number into place that makes sense and it's easier for us to do. And that's what we're doing. That's where we're trying to balance the numbers, if that makes sense.
So Bird Lane with big lots might be last.
Or never.
Or never.
It'll just take us a little time.
We're not picking, they're not telling us where they're gonna go. We're just letting them pick where they wanna go, and whatever they do, they do.
Right. The agreement allows them to provide the service throughout the entire city, and then they provide us with a map of what their anticipated area is. It's not attached to the agenda document because that map's confidential with regard to their proprietary areas that they're anticipating on serving. And I can tell you that the agreement does prioritize and require them to do as much boring as possible, open trenching.
And that's our goal. We as we've been doing Surprise, we've been boring and doing a lot of work that is as clean as possible for the community, so that we're in and out very quickly and we're not disrupting any of the landscape or any of that stuff significantly. In fact, our pack of fiber, our conduits are about that big, so less than 2 inches round is what we're using. So there's no reamer. We're not pulling a reamer back through or anything like that.
How do we approve a contract that's got a secret exhibit attached to it we can't see?
It's required to be kept confidential. You can see it. We can show it to you. We can't include it into a public document into the agenda item.
Why isn't it on the table so we can see it and then you guys can scarf it all back up at the end of the meeting or something?
I could certainly send it to you, Vice Mayor. I didn't bring it because it was a confidential document. I could certainly send it to you.
But how can it be confidential if it's something that's being done in a public meeting and a public contract? And
because there are certain things that are able to be kept confidential, and when you're talking about public infrastructure, especially communication lines and things that could be subject to, you want to keep those areas confidential as to where they're being installed, where they're being. An example of that is when the fiber optic line going north out of Black Canyon into Flagstaff was found and cut, and it cut off service to the northern Arizona.
Was it the line's got all those big yellow flags that are sticking up down the road to the point where it's at? Down Road 700, Forest Road 700.
If I'm allowed to share my screen, I can show you what we've designed already, if that helps.
The streaming.
If it'll allow me to share screen, I'm trying to.
If you want to show us yours, what an exhibit, that's fine. Just understand that this presentation and the Zoom information is being recorded. So
understood.
It It probably does become public record.
Yes.
At that point,
Understood.
it would, yeah.
If it makes it easier, can you all see it yet, or?
No.
I'm trying to hit, okay, here we go. I'm willing to do this so that we can make this easier. Let me know if you can see that.
We can see it, yes.
So this is what we have designed so far. Everything in these everything that is within the polygons are all part of the design that we're building.
What do you mean by polygons?
So if
purple?
the purple,
All the
each one
purple
of the-
area?
Yes, sir. Each one of those is a polygon for neighborhoods as we're designing it.
It looks like it pretty well takes in everything.
That's our goal.
Better internet. No business on the internet.
No
Or
Wi-Fi on the
business
golf course.
So it's the green that's not in design, is that what I understand?
So
Well,
are
it's the
you
yellow and
speaking-
the green.
You would be servicing the purple areas, Jason. The not purple areas you would not be servicing. Is that correct?
State that again, Matthew.
You would only be servicing the purple areas on the map, correct?
Yeah, on the first iteration of our design, this is what we have. It doesn't mean that we won't expand out or we won't try to serve more. This is just what we have so far. This is what we have in scope so far.
So just to get this oriented, show me a Camelback Road. Where is Camelback on this drawing?
You can see the wigwam is labeled.
This is
You can see better than I can, Supervisor Henry.
In that,
At the top,
big
there's
green
black
piece
line.
right there.
Camelback is up here at the top.
Okay, all right.
So most of the wigwam and downtown Litchfield and the city center and
Yeah, it looks like there's a good section. The wigwam is not included unless it came off of Wigwam Boulevard
part of
by where the school is, maybe.
the townhomes behind the library and the libraries have to be in service. That hand, I believe, is now downtown.
Well, and the city, it looks like city center is not serviced.
That probably has something to do with density of the homes.
The density.
If those are locations that need, or if some of the locations that you're calling out need that kind of service, we're more than happy to discuss that and work through figuring it out. I mean, that's the conversation, Matthew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we've had all along. If there's certain things that are required or needed, we're more than happy to help. That's part of our company's culture, is to let everyone know, we're local. We're not from anywhere else. We actually started in the Northwest Valley, and our goal is to bring back a little bit of what we've lost with the incumbents and having that kind of partnership.
No, we talked about having some type of service in the park, city Wi-Fi and such, so it would make sense to have everything done there.
Yeah, once upon a time, I think we approved going on to some light poles somewhere for a
5G.
Wi-Fi. We're gonna get Wi-Fi at the pole, the light pole at the rec center. Once upon a time.
Yeah.
There was a transmitter it has been installed on one of the light poles along Old Litchfield Road. Yeah, that's been installed.
What does it serve?
I don't know it's like a booster for, and I don't know what company. Do you know what company that Wi-Fi is for?
At the rec?
Yeah.
That's right on.
Well, CenturyLink's out now, right? They're out in Litchfield. I thought they were, aren't they? They don't service Litchfield anymore, I thought.
This would give, if approved, this would give citizens another company they can select from.
Hallelujah.
Another thing that's, I'm sorry.
Just my opinion.
Another thing city staff we've been discussing with them as well is maybe doing a separate agreement where if we wanted to put, if they were digging, where they could put conduit in for us, where we could trade out basically foot for foot. For example, the mayor was talking about putting up traffic lights in Missouri and there at the entrance to Fry's. We would want to put some conduit in the ground where we could sync those lights. We could sync all 3 red lights at one time. And that'd be something we could do with Zona Wire. Basically, if you put a foot of conduit in the ground for us, we don't charge you for a foot of conduit somewhere else. But that would be a separate agreement.
So price points for the citizens? Is that a fair question to ask at this point?
You can ask. I don't know what know what they are.
So the price points are when it comes to the services for 300 meg, it's $65. For 600 meg, it's $80. For a gig, it's $95. And for what you have not heard of from any of the incumbents is 2 gig for $150. So originally, I think a lot of the 1 gig was around 100 from local incumbents. We're offering 2 gig at 150. That's the latest and greatest. This is the next generation network that's being deployed across the valley.
That's a reasonable request for the citizens.
We've also,
okay, any further?
Just to further a little bit, we've also partnered with Surprise to try to, if you have areas that seem underserved or low income and there's a grant you want to go after, we've worked with Surprise to go after a grant for one of their areas. We've also done things where we've provided Wi-Fi at a reasonable rate, and because the way the incumbents have been operating, we provided Wi-Fi to the ballpark up there, especially during COVID. And so when we talk about Wi-Fi and all, we do have those solutions and we can help. We're always willing to help. So.
Well, it probably would make, I know Wi-Fi is a huge problem at the resort.
I was gonna say, our citizens would really appreciate
So
that.
it would probably be good to, to try to have some additional conversations about those types of topics. Is this document, this agreement, is it consistent with the agreements that Surprise and other cities have?
Yes, in fact, I negotiated with Wired for Buckeye, and this was the form agreement that we used in Buckeye.
Right. Is there any further discussion concerning this agreement with Zona for a wired telecommunications license and right-of-way agreement?
Quick question, actually, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go right ahead.
Jason, what is the time frame that you guys, if this is approved, that you guys are looking to begin construction?
So the time frame we have is no later than third quarter. We're already, so as you saw, I already have preliminary plan and drawings done. Once we get the approval to be able to start, we will already have an engineering company. We have one already lined up to go ahead and start working on the backbone that runs straight through the city. That's the piece that's going to deliver the service that we can break out to the city. So we've already submitted all of our 60 miles of the main backbone that goes all the way around the white tanks to be deployed already by a company that we've just specifically asked them to design the backbone for us, and they're in full flight. So with Litchfield Park, that's actually something we can throw in right now, because what we've been finding as we're starting to ramp up, we need to keep these engineering companies busy so that we don't lose their manpower that they've already agreed to support us on. And here's the reason: we have to ramp up to about 9,000 to 10,000 homes per passing a month. That's our goal. That's been directed by the company that's a part of our board. And in order to do so, we have to make sure that all these agreements, Litchfield Park, Goodyear, Avondale, are all in play so that we can just continue to ramp up all the construction and engineering crews.
So one more question, Jason, is the map that you presented to us to give us an idea of where you're looking to go, the areas that you're not servicing are kind of the older, more densely populated areas of Litchfield. Is that something that you intend on fulfilling it at a point?
That the intent is to continue to edge out from wherever we start. So that's what we've done in Surprise as well. We've come up with our game plan, and then we will continue to edge out of that. So this is kind of the first 3-4 year build, perspective, maybe shorter, and then we'll continue to edge out as we continue to grow. That's the goal.
Would you be willing to take a look at two specific areas within Litchfield Park as part of this to see if your system is able to provide services to those areas? Those areas are the Wigwam Resort, which I know specifically has issues with wireless throughout different areas of the resort where they don't have good service. And also our city square development, which is just, right now it's vacant land, but we're actually putting in the infrastructure right now. And it would make sense if you could put in some of that infrastructure now while it's already torn up before we put in brand new streets.
Oh, absolutely. We have, just so everyone knows, we have over 30,000 homes of passing material sitting in our yard right now. And in fact, that's what it was. I'm going to say 60 days ago, we've outgrown our current yard with space and had to consume another 3 acres of space for material. So we are ramping up very quickly. And if there are open conduit trenches and stuff like that, we will put the conduit in, and we'll definitely take care of that. So if go ahead.
I said, all right. There is opportunity to do that in Old Litchfield Road, because we're going to have that all torn up, and there's an opportunity to do that in the areas around our Litchfield Square development, because we're building roads right now. So it would be a good time to do it.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or discussion? Any other questions or discussion on this resolution 22-515? Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 22-515? Is there a second? Seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting resolution 22-515, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion's adopted. We'll get the agreement put together, and hopefully you guys are very successful and can provide us a good alternative to what we have now.
We would love to.
Okay.
That's what we'd like to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
That brings us to the end of our business section. We do have a desire for an executive session to discuss the information that was in our business item number 10A. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are going to move into executive session. After we come back from executive session, there will be no further business conducted other than to adjourn. Any of those individuals who want to wait around in our waiting room, you're welcome to do so. And then we will have you come back into the meeting before we adjourn. So thank you for your attendance, and with that, we'll go into executive session.
Give me just a moment, Mayor. I need to kick people out and
Thanks, Dave.
stop recording.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
What do you get on this discussion?
Yes, please.
Fairly timely tonight. It's fairly timely tonight.
Brian, and keep it.
Drive out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So we're not letting you out here.
Do you have a copy?
What's that?
We both had color in our hair.
That must be a really old picture.
We were talking this morning about that young guy with the dark hair in that top left up there. The dark suit in the left-hand corner.
Certainly, it's not me.
It's dark hair, now it's gray hair?
I was 4.
Uh-huh.
I had to use this computer in 2 years, and I can't find my email. And then I got my email from home, but I didn't, anyway, whatever, that's why.
It took me a little bit to get this thing working.
Yeah, I had to charge it first. I literally, it wasn't touched in the pandemic, because I use my iPad or my phone. I couldn't pull up the ballot on my phone. I'm like, what? Sarah's like, I signed the ballot. I'm like, I don't have a ballot. I finally figured out.
Okay, Mayor.
Okay, we're back in regular session, having adjourned the executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting? Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
We made some
Terry,
progress on
before-
different things.
John will be at the next meeting, Terry. I'll have him figure that out. I just